Hello TLCers! Today we're going to be talking about what's the best sunscreen for oily skin and playing a new game called Guess What We Did! So I have a selection of all the sunscreens I have in my bathroom cabinet in front of me here, and I've used all of them at one point or the other, and they've all got their own benefits and negatives to them. But first I want to talk about why it is that we need to use a sunscreen in the first place, because it's all very well me saying, oh, it should be part of your skincare routine to wear sunscreen. It's very, very important. You must do it. But unless you really know why it's important, maybe you will just think, oh, you know what, maybe I'll miss it out today. I don't like the feel of it on my skin. It makes my skin oily. It's greasy. It breaks me out. Well, I'm going to show you some sunscreens which are good for oily and greasy skin and won't break you out, and also explain why it is that you have to use it. When the sun hits our skin, it damages DNA directly because it's a form of radiation, but also it turns off some of the enzymes which prevent the breakdown of collagen in your skin. And then it upregulates the enzymes which promotes breakdown of collagen in your skin. So it increases breakdown of things that we need in the skin to keep it looking healthy and glowing. It's not just direct DNA damage, it's a combination of all those things together. I always recommend that people use vitamin C serum in combination with their sunscreen. Use the vitamin C before the sunscreen, obviously. The sunscreen is always the last thing that you're going to use before you put on your makeup during the day. If you can also use a nighttime antioxidant such as resveratrol by SkinCeuticals, that's a good thing to do as well. When you're looking for a sunscreen, it's important to choose one which has got a good activity against both UVA and UVB, and that tends to be more in the cosmeceutical brands that I find a combination of good activity against UVA and UVB, a good feel to the formulation so it doesn't give you spots or break you out or make your skin feel greasy, and also I personally think that they're quite good price points as well. When you're using sunscreen, it's important to use enough. No point using it and just going half-heartedly with it. You have to use a teaspoon for the face and neck when you apply it. I know that sounds like loads, but you are going to be stood there for some time rubbing it into the skin, and that's just how it is, unfortunately. You do have to be a little bit persistent when you're rubbing the sunscreen in. Maybe that's why I managed to get sunburn when I was on holiday, because I went out on a boat in Capri, which is near Italy, and I was having the sun over the top of the boat, and then also the reflection from the water as well, and I didn't have any sunscreen with me, so I burnt my nose and now it's all scabby and horrible. So please try and avoid that if possible. Oh, and for all those people who would say, oh well, you should have been wearing a hat, it was going very fast, okay? I couldn't wear a hat because it would have just blown off my head. Not possible. I wish it was, but it wasn't possible. I also want to talk about the differences between physical and chemical sunscreens. So if you have oily skin, it's better if you use a physical sunscreen rather than a chemical one. A physical sunscreen will just sit on the surface of the skin, and it works because it reflects the sun from the surface, rather than a chemical sunscreen which is absorbed into the skin. So as you can imagine, if there's something in a chemical sunscreen that doesn't agree with your skin type, it can end up breaking you out. And we have a combination of physical and chemical sunscreens here on the table. Just one more thing that I wanted to address, which was vitamin D. So there's been a little bit of controversy recently about if we wear sunscreen, are we reducing our vitamin D production? So vitamin D is produced by your own body when you go out in the sun and you have some sun exposure. That's quite a controversial topic at the moment, with some people saying we shouldn't be using sunscreen because we need to increase our levels of vitamin D. Other people saying no, our vitamin D levels are fine, we should be using sunscreen, and that's something that I'm going to be covering in a later video. But for now, let's go over to the next segment. I'm not getting paid to say this. This is my all-time favourite #1 top ever sunscreen, Jan Marini Physical Protectant, which has got an SPF of 30. The reason that I really like this is because it first of all has a tint, so it's great if you don't wear makeup during the day, like me. I'm a bit lazy, can't be bothered to wear makeup. So it makes it look like you have either a tinted moisturiser or a light foundation on. And second of all, it doesn't contain any chemical sunscreen at all. It's just a physical sunscreen. So if you're like me and you break out with certain sunscreens, or if you're looking for something which also has a bit of a tint in it, I think this is definitely one to have a look at. I'd say that it's not so great for people who have darker skin types because the tint in it is more for fair to medium skin types. Obviously, if you do have a darker skin tone, any sunscreen that you pick should still have a good UVA and UVB protection, and make sure that the formulation feels good for you to wear, otherwise you're just not going to bother wearing it. I think that's one of the most important things about sunscreens. If the formulation's not good and it's sticky or you don't enjoy putting it on, people are just not going to use it. The second are these, which I'm kind of putting in the same category because they're made by the same group. They're both Obagi. So this first one's Sea Sun Guard, which is an SPF 30. And then we've got Sunshield, which is an SPF 50. They're both untinted physical sunscreens. So if you're going out and wearing makeup, this probably would be better. It leaves a really lovely sheen to the skin after you've used it, and it's a very, very good base for makeup, so you can use it more like a primer. So that's my second go-to sunscreen if I am going to be wearing makeup during the day, so maybe give those a try. You do have to keep rubbing, especially this one in particular, into the skin quite a lot, otherwise you can have sort of a almost a whitish hue to the skin, but once it's on, it's really, really nice. The third sunscreen I'm going to talk about is this SkinCeuticals Sheer Mineral Defense. This is an SPF 50. Again, this is just a physical sunscreen. The reason why I'm talking about this one is because it's very good if you've got combination skin, so part oily, part dry. I find this one's excellent. You know, when you have the changing of the seasons and sometimes your skin maybe gets a little bit more irritable and dry in the summer, then I would definitely head over here because it's got a more, very, very slightly more oilier texture than the others that I've already mentioned. If you want to use it with a tint, it comes with a tint. If you want to use just a plain sunscreen, it comes as a white version as well. This is the white version right here. And then last but not least, we have the HelioCare SPF 60. This is the air gel, which is really interesting actually because it comes out like a mousse. So these are all just normal lotions, but this is like a mousse, like almost like hair mousse, if anybody still uses mousse on their hair these days, I've no idea. But this one also has a very, very slight tint to it as well, and it looks almost slightly yellowish when you put it on your skin. So it's probably not great for people who have got a pinky undertone to the skin, but great if you've got more of a yellow undertone. It's quite interesting because it contains both physical and chemical protectants. So if you're looking for something which is quite versatile and does both, then this would be the right one for you. Okay, so that's it for today, but before you go, one last thing. People often don't know what to expect when they've had a non-surgical procedure. How are they going to look when they've had botulinum toxin or dermal fillers or thread lifting or something like that you have done in a non-surgical clinic? Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you one of my patients before and after. But who knows what treatment they've had done, because I'm not going to tell you yet. That's for next week when we start our new segment called Guess What We Did. See you then.